What's up, everybody? Happy Monday, if there is such a thing. Good to see you. Good to see you. This is going to be a cool live stream. I'm excited for this one. I know we had quite a few tech problems today, but we soldier on. We got through it. We got the live stream up. As soon as this is done, I got the corrected uh, compilation back that's going to be out tomorrow now. But because I couldn't get the compilation out tomorrow, I can do the live stream tonight. Just as good, right? Then at some point, I'm going to get a haircut this week. So yeah, sorry it took me so long to get on here. Just had to figure it out, restart the computer. Kind of like people, if you restart them, they work. So this is going to be a cool live stream. We're going to talk about effectively Apache snake medicine, let's say. There's a lot in here. There's a whole lot. We're really just going to look at one chapter from 9 Years with the Indians, Herman Lehmann's book. He kind of goes a little spurgy on it. Okay. He goes a little spurgy. I don't mean anything. I'm diagnosed myself, right? So I don't mean anything bad by that. But he goes a little here and there in this chapter. So we cover a lot of ground. We are going to be talking about raiding with the Apache, ritual dancing, ritual sacrifice, juggling, psychedelics, cactus beer, flash floods, wildfires, optical illusions, witchcraft, a tragic hunting accident, wild horses, wolves, and of course, snakes. We're pretty snake heavy in this chapter. So lots of snakes. Personally, not a huge fan of snakes. I'm like kind of snake agnostic, but rattlers, we're going to talk about some crazy stuff they did with the rattlers. We're going to see some parallels with the Apache and some other tribes that we've talked about and how they utilize rattlesnake venom. But the Apache really had this whole thing down. And of course, we always say, take this with a grain of salt, right? Yeah, I think take it with a sizable grain of salt for sure. But you don't have to salt the whole thing. Herman doesn't have a lot to be gained by exaggerating this stuff. We've talked about this before. He really has a lot more to be gained by kind of toning down a lot of what he saw and experienced and did. It's a delicate balance. You want to sell the book, but you don't want to make yourself look bad. And in this book, he just casually says, like, yeah, we unalived these guys. We unalived these guys. We robbed this whole wagon train. Of course, we unalived all of them as well. It's very just matter of fact. And this story is going to take place after the Apache have gone on a raiding spree through central Texas. It's interesting because they are at a time of peace with the Comanche. So they do a little kind of co-raiding, right? Like kind of a WeWork space of raiding, right? Or like a YouTube channel collaboration of raiding. And they sweep all over central Texas. They're just kind of like roaming through the territory. And then eventually the Apaches say, like, we're going to go back to our home in West Texas. And so they kind of split off and they do some more raiding. And then the Apaches basically stop and do a little celebrating. And that's where this chapter is going to pick up, because Herman has never really seen a post-raid celebration with the Apache yet. He's still relatively young in his early teens. And this is the first time he's going to see the Apache really kind of throw a party. Like, this is a full thing. It involves a long period of fasting. You'll see a lot of sevens in their theology, in their religious ceremonies. This is kind of like a blowout frat party, but also a deeply religious ceremony for the Apache, like a Thanksgiving of sorts for their success during their raiding, and then also beseeching their gods for rain. And this all kind of boils down to how can we get there to be some rain? We really need some rain, right? So it'll all boil down to all these ceremonies for that. And like I said, just keep in mind as we work our way through it, we hop from point A to point B pretty succinctly. So we'll stop here and there and explain what's going on. But this is all right, it's not a fun chapter, right? I don't want to call this fun because you'll see this is pretty gnarly stuff, but it's interesting. And if this was a short, like A24 Films movie, it'd be pretty intense. It'd be pretty cool. There's elements of humor, elements of psychedelia, elements of really creepy violence. There's kind of some Well, there is, and I would call it human sacrifice. You guys can tell me in the chat what you think when we get done with the story, but I would equate what they do in this. I think it's human sacrifice. I'm just going to tell you straight up. Let me check the chat real quick, and then we'll jump into it. We're going to be reading, by the way, from 9 Years Among the Indians, Herman Lehmann's, yeah, an autobiography, basically. One second, let me grab some books. I'm going to try and stabilize this camera. It's driving me crazy. Hopefully that'll work. Let's see, guys. Actually, you know what? It's better than nothing. It's better than nothing. We'll work on it. Happy Cappy is in here. What's up, Happy Cappy? Bama Deanna, Jake Skywalker, Elite Super Grunt, Hail HOKC. Charles, what's up, man? Got Mark Kavitsky's back. What's up, guys? Good to see everybody. This will be, I know all you guys, this will be right up your alleys. Alleys, yes. Let's see. I'm going to pull up. I have it on my other Kindle account. If you do not have your own copy of 9 Years Among the Indians, I cannot recommend it enough. I usually post it in the chat, but I don't know how often people use that. So this is titled, I'll post it when I'm done. This is 9 Years Among the Indians by Herman Lehmann. I got it for like $1 on Kindle. It's like $5 paperback. I make no money off of you guys going and buying these books. I just can't recommend it enough. If you are a fan of Old West history, even if you're not like a big fan of Old West history, if you like survival stories, or you just want to pick something up that is absolutely insane, this whole book is nuts. Like, this poor guy got put through the ringer, and he really kind of becomes a full-fledged warrior. And what he does, and what he's certainly forced to do, but what he does is, the life he lives is crazy. So get yourself a copy. And I think when we get done with this chapter, you're going to agree. So this is going to be really, I'll tell you what I'm going to do, not to make this too convoluted, but we're going to start with the tail end of chapter 16, and then we're really going to jump into chapter 17. So I'll just surmise the end of chapter 16 really quickly. They're, like I said, they're out on this raid. They unalive a bunch of people, right? It's a whole deal. Let's see. I can just kind of summarize it. I think, yeah, I'll just summarize it. They're out on this raid. They're getting along with the Comanche. They kind of split off from the Comanche after a big tirade of raiding. They unalive a couple more people on a wagon train. They unalive another family, and then they decide to make camp. And they're going to have. He doesn't understand what he's seeing, so he doesn't really explain it, because he really didn't spend enough time with the Comanche to understand every idiosyncrasy of their culture. So he kind of just describes this as a ceremony, but he doesn't say if it's a seasonal thing or an annual thing or a biannual thing or whatever, right? This is just really the only time in his time with the Comanche or the Apache that he sees this ceremony. So he just calls it a generalized ceremony. Okay, so this is chapter 22, titled Glimpses of Indian Customs. So this is page 44 if you're on the Kindle edition. So beginning from the book here, we began preparations for a great festival, the significance of which I do not know. We first had to undergo a 7 days fast. Then 7 strong, robust Indians were selected to dance continuously for 7 days and 7 nights without partaking of any food except a moist root prepared especially for this except for a moist root prepared especially for this ordinance. So you'll see a lot of 7s in here as well. A lot of 7 warriors who fast for 7 days, and then these other guys, they select a couple more, and they basically give them this kind of hallucinogenic cactus beer that's brewed with, we'll talk about it in the upcoming part of the chapter here, but it's the prickly pear, like apple. They pull the top off of that, and then they brew a beer with it, and then it sounds like they pour peyote in with that. So it's a whole thing. And then these 7 Apache dance. It's like Burning Man, but like really intense, right? These 7 Apache dance around for 7 straight days on nothing but this psychedelic cactus beer. So it's a whole scene, right? It's crazy from the get-go. Back to the book. The medicine men performed many jugglery tricks that I don't yet understand, and no others could, such as sticking knives into their bodies without bringing blood. I have seen them carve, this is a little graphic. I have seen them wound themselves greatly with knives with no blood flow. Then they would eat small apples that grew on a cactus found only in the mountains of Mexico and of great value among the Indians. They made a preparation of these apples called hooch. You can kind of see it's like hooch, right? You see this. I wonder if this is at least the name, if they pulled it from some anglicized source. We all ate nothing but hoosh for 4 days, and we felt so light and happy that we loved everybody and wanted to fly away. There is a plant which grows in Mexico called peyote, and it is held in great veneration by the Indians. And it is quite possibly the medicine men, excuse me, and it is quite possible that the medicine men used this in preparation with the hoosh also. They did, like they dumped a little of the yodi in there as well, right? If you're not familiar with peyote, it's a psychedelic cactus that not only the Apache used, the Comanche used it wisely, and it was Quanah Parker's one sticking point. Like he was immovable. He converted to Christianity after he went to the reservation, and he was, you know, relatively devout, but he would not budge on his use of peyote. That was like a integral part of his spirituality as a native warrior. So continuing on here, some of the excuse me, guys, allergies. Some of the medicine men claimed to control the atmosphere and commanded the rains to come, which is like, all right, we're going to get a little crazy here, okay? I have seen them go out on a high point and wave a cow's tail. I have seen them go out on a high point and wave a cow's tail and chant for rain, and if it failed to come, they drew the conclusion that some of their people had provoked the Great Spirit. So this is one of those like classic. I just watched this like documentary on what channel was it? But there was a crazy like Japanese or I think Chinese cult that came to Texas in the 90s, and they started this whole like thing where they all wore white suits and white cowboy hats. And one guy predicted that the apocalypse would come on like whatever day, right? It was kind of like very Heaven's Gate-y, but in the middle of like Dallas. Of course, it didn't, right? So he starts making all these excuses and blaming all of his own people. It's a classic cult leader tradition. And look, I'm not trying to be insulting to the Apache medicine men, right? But oftentimes, when they finally kind of converted their culture, a lot of these medicine men from all kinds of cultures, from the Hawaiians to the Iroquois to shoot the Apache, I mean, name it, right? They would all the time, they would say like, I'm kind of glad we did this because we were just making stuff up. So take that for what you will. It's not to say that they didn't have some crazy powers, but a lot of times this was a sleight of hand show because, like you'll see with the Aztec, holding this medicine man position gave you great leverage and great social power within the tribe. So convincing people that you had magical powers was, it certainly behooved your social mobility and social status, right? So back on to the story here. Lots of optical illusions and also the juggling. I would like to see the juggling the Apache do. Once I knew them to be vainly trying, but the drought continued. So the medicine men came into camp and placed the blame on a Mexican who was staying with us. He doesn't really specify if this is it sounds like this is still part of the same ceremony though. Like this is part of the same cactus beer peyote ceremony. And the medicine men go up on a mountain, wave the cow's tail around. No rains come. They come back. They say, "Oh, it's this dude right here. This guy's the reason we're not getting any rain." It goes south, or it gets western pretty quickly. We're going to continue on here. I lost my place. Here we go. The Mexican was firmly bound, hand and foot, with rawhide, and carried away upon the mountain and bound to a flat rock. And near him was staked a large rattlesnake. The snake was placed just near enough to strike the Mexican whenever he moved. Then, the very next sentence, he just says, "We returned to camp and the incantations were repeated." So, we're going to carry on with this, right? But just to stop for just a second, they instantly blame this dude. They say it's just this guy. He's just there hanging out. It's not uncommon. A lot of times, Comancheros and traders and stuff would hang out with the tribes. And they just say like, well, this guy is different. It's got to be his fault. So they tie this guy up. They take him up on the mountain. They put him on a flat rock. And I'm kind of having trouble. Let me see. What can I use here? I don't know if it's like a flat rock and he's tied to it, and then the rattlesnake is like tied down here. Either way, they had rattlesnakes on hand. They knew how to pin them down next to somebody, and they had this whole thing thought out already. This seemed like a pretty common thing for them to be doing. So it's just a whole trip. And then add to that that they're on this like peyote beer. They're all hopped up on peyote beer, and they're just like, oh, sorry, we got to take this guy, hog tie him, and then put a rattlesnake next to him. This is all to me very evocative of, I believe it's The Missing. Can you guys tell me in the chat with Tommy Lee Jones? But if you've seen that movie, you've seen the medicine man in that movie. There's obviously a lot of Hollywood added to it, but it's a lot of that is drawn from actual accounts, and a lot of these scenes really evoke scenes from that movie for me. This is just wild in so many ways, and you'll see that Herman doesn't really do a lot of introspection on what happened. He just goes, this happened, and then this happened, and then this happened. So the very next sentence we go to, we returned to the camp and the incantations were repeated, and then there came a regular water spout. Our wigwams were washed away, and one white child captive was drowned. Several horses went down in the raging torrent which rushed down the arroyo and our camp, on which our camp was situated, and we had to flee to the mountain for safety. That's just like one paragraph here. We're going to break that down as well. So we lose a captive white child. Odd that he just kind of mentions that in a couple of ways, because he was himself a captive white child. He seems to have, I don't want to say he doesn't have sympathy. Like, we're not trying to read his mind, right? But he just kind of mentions it. He doesn't seem to have a lot of connection to that child anymore. And he views himself as more Apache. And then he notes that a couple horses washed downstream. And I can guarantee you, if you've ever seen a flash flood, that would be the craziest thing you've probably ever seen. And then seeing a couple horses get washed down a stream in a flash flood would very likely be would be S tier craziest things that you've ever seen, right? So he sees all this and just kind of sums it up in one paragraph. And he's going to talk about how the Apache aren't totally daft to the fact that their medicine men can kind of read some meteorological signs. You know, when clouds are on the horizon and stuff, that's a good time to start your rain incantations. But the Apache really put a lot of stock in their medicine men. Continuing on here, Indians could forecast the weather by the webs of spiders. In dry weather, the spider was thin. The spider web was thin. It was long and high, but just before rain, the web was low, short, and thick. One morning, an Indian put out an excuse me, my voice is going, guys. So they forecast the weather with spider webs. I don't know. Kind of sounds like that would work to me. What do you guys? Let me know in the chat. I kind of feel like I'm going to try that next time I see a spider web. But that kind of seems like it would work. I don't know. One morning, an Indian put on an antelope skin and went out on all fours to surprise and kill an antelope. This is a super common tactic because the antelope are so skittish. So this was de rigueur. I use that term too much, but you know, you got to use it when you can. You don't get to say it that much. But it was a standard practice in order to get close enough to shoot an antelope with a bow and arrow, they would put on this antelope skin and kind of crawl around like an antelope. They've been doing this for centuries. But we're going to see that accidents, I was just thinking about this today, hunting accidents with the Apache, with Plains tribes were not unheard of. And they were pretty darn common, especially on the Texas frontier. Anywhere there's like a lot of brush, like in central Texas, there's a lot of accounts of just like, oh yeah, we accidentally shot this guy, my bad. It's like, man, I mean, there's a lot of them. Okay. He crawled to within 100 yards of where the fleet floated at. There's just a lot of tough words in this paragraph. He crawled to within 100 yards of where the fleet-footed animals were grazing. Another Indian saw this animal away by himself, and, not knowing that this was an Indian, he took aim and killed the disguised Indian. He went back to camp in grief and told us what he had done. As the dead Indian was a relative of Carnaviste, who is the head honcho chief, is kind of the de facto Apache father to Herman. Colonel Viste started to kill the Indian, but the squaw of the deceased stepped in between them and saved his life. So that's some like Apache justice and a good example of how it generally worked. They were like, well, you wronged me, you hurt my family, so I get to unalive you or a member of your family if need be. And really the only way to stop this is for a member of the aggrieved family to step in and say, all right, let's tone it down a notch. My inclination is that this widow did not walk away empty-handed. Usually there was some kind of deal struck where it's like, you're going to give me X amount of firearms, flour, horses, ammunition, whatever, right? But we're not walking away from this goose-egged. Man, we're not walking away from this with nothing. Allergies, I'm telling you guys, I'm not complaining, right? Kind of. But the allergies here are out of control. They're nuts. So like I'm all stuffed up. So if I sound a little off, confuse me, but we're going to soldier on regardless. So this story, you might kind of think like, okay, we're going all over the place. He doesn't give you a lot of transitions here. That's what I mean. He gets a little spurgy, he gets a little bouncy back and forth. After this, that paragraph ends that whole story. Okay, there's no more mention of that, and we're going to go right into the natural disasters. We get a flash flood and we get a wildfire, and we're going to get some more snakes as well. Oh, he just jumps in right after this. He jumps into this talk about some kind of species of snake that he doesn't specify. It sounds like it's not a rattlesnake. He makes sure to clarify it's not a rattlesnake. It's some kind of adder. But okay, so bear with Herman as he just kind of bluntly jumps into snake talk. Okay, if you were sitting next to Herman, I feel like at least the book captures kind of how he really talked. He was just kind of dictating his stories to a writer, and Herman might take some hard lefts and hard right turns for you at times, right? The guy's been through a lot, so bear with him. Into the next paragraph. A kind of snake infested that region, something like the asp, which is like a viper. Its bite was almost sure death. These snakes always went in pairs, and if you killed one of its mate, it would trail you up and bite you, even though you were miles from the dead mate. It was told to me that a young Indian who had just married killed one of these snakes and traveled on and camped that night with his young wife. The snake's companion trailed him up, and just as the moon was straight overhead, this serpent pierced its fangs into the throat of the young bride, and she died immediately. The Indian quit the tribe and spent the remainder of his life hunting and killing these snakes, which, if that is true, come on, we need some more details on that, right? This dude just goes full John Wick on the snakes. It's pretty dope. I don't hope that that's true. I don't want that lady to die by snake bite, but come on. We all hope that's kind of true and that a dude wandered around the Old West just going full like whacking day on these snakes. We all kind of want that to be true. There's no shame in that. Let's all just admit it, okay? Finishing up here, we are going to take we just took a hard left. We're going to take a hard right now to take this thing across the finish line. So finishing up with Herman, we're going to talk about the grass fire that just sweeps through his camp. Once we were encamped on a little sandy creek. And keep in mind, yes, he just talks about that snake. And then next sentence, he's talking about the camp on the sandy creek. So once we were encamped on a little sandy creek. The grass was high and dry. We smelled fire, and looking up, we saw a great cloud of smoke. The prairie itself was on fire. We went to work pulling grass and clearing it away, and burned all around our camp to check the fire and prevent it from reaching us. So like people have been using controlled burns for a long time. It's our big kind of gripe with the California. One of our gripes with California is that they don't do controlled burns and they don't clear out the underbrush. And so you just get these monumental fires all the time. I think a lot of people have a misunderstanding of a lot of the natives' interaction with the environment. It was very proactive in their management of it. Most of the Plains tribes, if not all that I've ever heard of, practiced land management by burning large swaths of it, by clear cutting or burning out forests. Like they really knew how to manage the land, and they knew how to, in some way, combat wildfires. They weren't a total novelty on the frontier. So in this case, they already have kind of an emergency action plan that they all snap into. You start yanking up all the grass that you can, and you start control burning everything. But despite their best efforts, things still go south. The blaze reached out 50 feet with its great fiery tongue, and the smoke almost stifled us. My understanding of that is if the blaze reached out 50 feet, I think that he means that it was 50 feet high, which is insane. Some of our horses broke away and were lost. Snakes, deer, antelope, wolves, and other animals rushed into our place of refuge. Thousands of animals perished in the flames. One old squaw's eyesight was destroyed, and many of the children succumbed to the heat. And then right up, that's the end of the chapter. That's it. That's all he has to say about that. Many of the children succumbed to the heat. We got an onrush of wolves and snakes and all kinds of wildlife. Old lady went blind. End of the chapter. So we kind of, that's just how it works. Still, that's one chapter, right? There's few books in the lexicon of American history, especially firsthand accounts of American history on the frontier, that are more entertaining than Herman Lehmann. So like I said, I make nothing off you guys buying this book, but I can't recommend it enough. It is, I was just kind of searching for stories to do episodes on, came across that, and I was like, man, there is so much stuffed into this one little story. We can't pass this one up. A little schizophrenic, yes, possibly, but immensely enjoyable. Let's see. All right, I'm going to check the chat now. Any questions, comments? Let me know, guys. Let's see. Space Cowboy, what's up, man? God bless HOKC. God bless the HOKC community, and God bless America. Amen, sir. Thank you very much. I didn't know that Herman had children. Yeah, I think Herman had a daughter, right? Yeah, Happy Cappy says he had a daughter. Yeah. I was going to, let's see. I was going to ask if the Apache did the same for rains as the Mayan. And the Apache, I think, are like Uto-Aztecan as well. So there seems to be some like holdover theological mindset or some kind of like trickle down theology from their roots, maybe. Because yeah, there's some of the stuff that they do is like very Aztecan. That's a lay person's analysis. So it'd be interesting to talk to an expert on that. My goodness, dance for 7 days. People have died from the dancing plague. Yeah, that's a very interesting time in history too. Like it was like mass psychosis in Europe in the 1500s, 1600s, somewhere around there. But like an even worse version of Burning Man. I wonder how many tried to fly. Yeah, he mentioned that somewhere in the book, actually, that like some people were like jumping off rocks and trying to fly. Let's see. People are still getting got by people who have convinced them that they have magic powers. Oh yeah, man, it's nothing new and it's not going to go away anytime soon. It's but you know what? Also, we have to have, I think, some grace for them because as far as the people who fall for that, quote unquote, I think a lot of times, and especially in the Apache's case and a lot of natives' case, I think it was born out of desperation. Like you're stuck in the middle of nowhere and it's not raining. You got to try something. I think it's really interesting to look at the Comanches' evolution or development of their own theology, which we kind of got to see, not in real time, but we got to record it. Like we saw the Comanche go from the 1820s and 1830s being a very stripped down tribe in almost every respect, having a very minimal theology, not having a great tribal interest in creation stories and who made the plains, who made the mountains. I didn't really care, right? But as things got more and more desperate, they were more and more open to sun dances, to different rituals that they would adopt from the Kiowa, from the Cheyenne. As they got, into the 1870s, that's when Isatai was really kind of sweeping across the Comanche and really convinced a lot of people that he could fly, he could levitate, he could do all this crazy stuff, and convinced them enough to attack adobe walls. He even convinced Quanah, which always kind of blows my mind because like Quanah is such a level-headed guy and such a strategic thinker in so many ways. And he's just like, no, we should, it shows the desperation Quanah was in. But a lot of a lot of the I think adherence to it is just like a born out of desperation. He's like, bro, we need it to rain. Let's see. Go to Home Depot, buy buy San Pedro cactus, boil and drink. It's about, we cannot endorse that here, Charles. I have no idea what that is, but we cannot endorse that, certainly. But I appreciate the effort. It was a big deal to have big medicine. Yeah, absolutely. Jamilian, what's up? Charles, I am tempted to, Bamadiana, don't do anything Charles says. We do not endorse that here. We cannot endorse that officially. Seems like the Wi-Fi is a little schizo too. So if I get kicked off for whatever reason, I'm coming right back. Don't worry. Let's see. You can forecast the weather with crickets too. Is that how you guys do it? You guys have like a big box of crickets at every Alabama news station? I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. In Texas, you just say whatever. Just like say, oh, it's I don't know, it's gonna be cloudy today. Because who knows? I have magical powers also. I can prove it, says Mark Kavitsky. I put a strawberry shortcake in front of me and I will make it disappear. Yeah, I'm the same way with most baked goods. My preferred baked good is maple bars, which is a controversial thing. It's an old head thing to pick. But I think it's the classiest of all pastries, of all American pastries. Jake Skywalker says, is that snake that he is referencing a copperhead? I don't know. You guys tell me. I'm wondering if I think Jake, you would know better than I was hoping Josh McAllister, my tongue is just done for the day, guys. Josh McAllister, I was hoping he would be here because I know we have some, what is a snake expert? An ornithologist? Some amateur ornithologists in here. Bamadiana, how would they know it was that snake's mate instead of just another snake? I would imagine they wouldn't. I would imagine that's a little bit of folklore. Jamilian says, Herman had a peculiar mindset, seeming very detached from many of the events, but that might have been common among white captives. The psychological and cultural impact on them is extreme. Yeah, I don't think you could understate that. Like, I imagine that happening today. It's hard to draw like a real a connection that's politically correct enough. But imagine like if you got it, bear with me on this, but if someone got abducted by the cartels when they were like 11, right? And they had to like survive with the cartels. I'm not making the direct connection between cartels and tribes, right? I'm trying to think of something different. Let's just say you got kidnapped by a bunch of French people, right? Like you would kind of go French for a while, and I'm sure it would traumatize you to some extent. I don't know. You get what I'm saying? Like you're thrown into a very difficult situation as a youngster, and it's made about as hard as it can be, especially being forced into doing some hardcore stuff as a warrior. So yeah, I think there's some level of dissociation. It's different among different people though, for sure. Because like you can look at the pictures of Cynthia Ann Parker. She's miserable when she came back. Some people were happy to be back. Guys like Adolf Korn basically never came back. He just went and lived in a cave. Herman seemed to like at least eventually enjoy his local celebrity. He like enjoyed opening the rodeo by shooting the calves and cutting out the liver and doing all that, which we've talked about before. If you had like 3 or 4 beers in you, you would definitely watch that. Let's just again be honest with each other. But yeah, it does seem to be a common trait that many of them dissociate. I think that's a known psychological phenomenon now. Yeah, that's a great take though. I don't think these snakes are that smart. No, I think it's just folklore. But I don't know what breed of snake that is. A rattlesnake killed our full-grown horse? Holy crap. Dang. I knew that was possible, but I thought that was very rare. Well, I'm sorry to hear that. Some people think rock art in the Southwest is showing a shaman navigate his way through a psychedelic trip. I mean, it could be. I don't want to give the impression that, all these tribes were just on all these psychedelics all the time. Definitely not the case. Not even the case for tobacco. Like all of these things were used very ritualistically. Really, kind of the only thing that you know got out of hand pretty quickly was alcohol, was whiskey. Everything else was really generally constrained to ritualistic purposes, and oftentimes so was alcohol. But some of the drinking stories get pretty crazy. The Apache drinking stories get real crazy. The whole village, all the women and children clear out and they go like to a camp a long ways away. And it's like, then it's just a full on Skinner concert, right? Like 1974 Skinner concert. It's crazy, crazy. Let's see. Lots of cultures worship serpents, dragons, like the Aztecs. I wonder if Apache or Comanche had any of that going on. Not that I've read, but yeah, that's absolutely true. I mean, Christian history has, at least, with the saints, St. George slayed a dragon. Who else? St. Elizabeth. Snakeologists are what they're called. Am I wrong, though? Is it ornithologist or no? That's a bird. Herpetologist. That sounds terrible. The snake bit my horse's leg and we didn't check on them for a few days. Leg was swollen and rotten looking. Oh my gosh, man. I knew that could happen, right? But it's such a large animal. I'm sorry to hear that. And like, totally get it. Like, they're out in the pasture. You're not going to check them every single day. That's country living though, man. I'm not trying to be, I understand. I'm going to say it was a water moccasin. Do you think it was a water moccasin in the canyons though? This sounds like West Texas. It could be. I don't know enough about snakes to disagree. I was going to say a rattlesnake will make you swell up bad. That must have been, yeah, that had to be a bad bite. Necrosis sets in and it's over. Mojo, what's up, man? Coming on in with that cheery little comment. Yeah, dude, it's a bad deal. And like I've seen videos of what it does to people, but a horse is such a large animal. Yeah, that's again, I knew it could happen, but I thought it's a rarity. Ophiolatry, snake worship. Well, we're going to avoid that here. We are anti-ophiolatry here at HOKC. Hale McAllister. Is Josh in here? What's up, Josh? What do you know of any kind of snake out in like West Texas, maybe the New Mexico area, that would be like an asp and isn't a rattlesnake and possibly travels in pairs? Charles, I knew you were going to say that. Herpetologists do not study that. They study something else, but not that. Could it be a sidewinder? Do we have sidewinders in? Honest question. Do we have sidewinders in West Texas, New Mexico? I hope not. Get rid of them. Someone told me the Cheyenne were the weakest of tribes. I like to think they were the weakest tribes of the past generation. The Cheyenne were not the weakest of tribes, man. I don't know who told you that, Doug Allen, but that is, not even being a hometown fan, that is not true. The Cheyenne were a powerhouse. They really were devastated particularly hard because their homelands were along the Oregon Trail. So after 1849, all the tribes got hit, but the Cheyenne got hit really, really hard by smallpox. So their power kind of took a dip after that, but they are a fighting people. They are a powerhouse. The Blackfoot were more ruthless, but love liquor. Yeah, it depends on who you ask. The mountain men, we talked about this last night. The mountain men's number one fear was the Blackfoot. More than grizzlies, more than whatever. They were more afraid of the Blackfoot than anything. However, they weren't spending as much time in the Cheyenne ranges. I think it'd be an interesting contention to say that the Cheyenne had the horse longer than the Blackfoot and thus would be a more experienced horsebound tribe. But I'll have to search for some Blackfoot Cheyenne intertribal warfare. And the Cheyenne are also so intrinsically intermixed, especially after the 1820s or so, with the Arapaho, that they kind of have another secondary part of their tribe in a lot of ways. And the Arapaho are one of my favorite tribes. They're just so cool. Let's see. Colorado was in 49. Yeah, when the gold rush came, basically like everyone coming across the continent and going full on What's the new one we got to watch out for? Hanta? I forget. I don't know if I can even say that. I don't want to get flagged. Native tribes all had warriors to be feared and respected. Yeah, I mean that sounds like a generic take, to be honest with you, Mojo, right? But it's right. It's right. That's exactly right. Just about all of them, be it the Chumash, be it the Comanche, be it the Iroquois, the Seminole, the Arapaho. If you ran into these guys, you'd be freaked out. I read a book called Firewater about northern Montana. I'm gonna write that down. Is it a Firewater? Okay, that's a nonfiction. Firewater. Very cool, man. Thank you. I've never heard of that. Planiku was asked of all the tribes who were your enemies, which tribe did you fight to? Excuse me. Which tribe did you fight? Oh, excuse me. He was asked which tribe did you want to fight the least? Without hesitation, he said the striped feathered arrows, which was the Cheyenne. Yeah, the Cheyenne. You don't want no part of the Cheyenne. And they're so not stratified, but maybe compartmentalized into their warrior societies. They're such an interesting culture. Like, no, in fact, if you think that is the case, go look at parts 1 and 2 of our Summit Springs part 2-parter from about a month and a half ago. That might be the hardest script I've ever written, because I had to I'm not being a baby about it, right? Like, I got a pretty solid stomach for this stuff, but I had to stop here and there because the Cheyenne were just unaliving everybody. They were taking no breaks. They had no chill at all. They were just going through this whole area, unaliving everybody. And if they didn't unalive you, they were going to take you prisoner. It's even worse than that. And then they would unalive the prisoners. It's a whole thing. Go watch both part 1 and 2 if you want a good primer on what the Cheyenne were up to, especially post-Civil War. Because post-Civil War, the U.S. Army was like, all right, the U.S. government was like, all right, well, we got this thing settled. Let's start pushing westward again. And that's when the quote-unquote Indian Wars ratcheted back up, and things got western. And they're trying to straighten this whole whatever. What are you going to do? Got to get a haircut, guys. Wyatt's Barbershop, 7th Street, Austin. Best barbershop in the city. Go there. If you're in Austin, if you're a listener, there's some of you guys that are in Austin. If you want a good haircut, go to Wyatt's Barbershop on East 7th Street. Can't miss. Mike Holtz, what's up, bro? I was just watching some 1980s Greco, man. Brutal. It was rough stuff back in the day. They were the Cheyenne were much more organized and structured militarily and socially. Super organized, super organized. Not even in this hierarchical way necessarily. Like, yes, they had chiefs and more experienced warriors and whatnot, but in this horizontal way, where like they had the different organizations of warrior societies. They had the Elk Shield, the Elkhorn Society, the Kit Fox Society, the Dog Soldiers Society, the Crooked Lance Society, and everybody kind of had their own main job, and everybody kind of had their own cultural flavor. And eventually, the Dog Soldiers break off and start their own band. The Cheyenne are awesome. The main Dog Soldier, what's his name, guys? Porcupine Bear. Porcupine Bear was like the dude among the Dog Soldiers. He gets hammered, unalives his cousin, like, come on. But everybody makes a big deal out of this, and they kick him out of the tribe. But all the Dog Soldiers are like, well, listen, man, we get it. You shouldn't do that. But he's also the best warrior we got. It's kind of like a Cheyenne Achilles in a lot of ways. Like, he's a flawed guy, but he's the best warrior you got. And they're like, we're in the business of winning battles, so we're going to go live with Porcupine Bear. If you don't want him to live here, that's fine. They kind of had like listen, Porcupine Bear, you don't have to go home, but you can't stay here kind of thing. So they're like, all right, well, we're going to go live with Porcupine Bear. But yeah, the Cheyenne are just amazing people. Let's see. Oh yeah, Pan Ams are on right now, dude. That's right. I forgot that. I was watching the U.S. Open last week. Pan Ams. I'm gonna write that down. Pan Ams. I'm a Greco guy now, man. I'm into Greco right now. I'm looking forward to watching that when I get off here. Are you guys? Oh yeah, I did watch. I watched Wyatt's final against the Canadian dude. I watched Wyatt's final against. That was wild. All that he was trying to throw him and it was basically a Greco match. That was dope. You can count on Wyatt. Wyatt's gonna pull it off, dude. He's a gamer. Captain America. Jake Skywalker, $5 super chat. Thank you, sir. Thank you so much. Oh, if you're in here, click the like button. Jake Skywalker, you know the deal. If you have any propaganda that you would like me to spread that does not violate the First Amendment, let me know. Or YouTube's terms of service. Nothing that'll get us on a watch list. Let's see. Shave your head, bro. I just did. I love not having to brush my hair in the morning. No, I shaved my head when I was a wrestler. I mean, you're always a wrestler, right? But I used to, man. I used to. It's not the best look for me. Yeah, I need like the just the generic Saving Private Ryan extra haircut. I watched the UFC fight the other night on Paramount Plus. Yeah, dude, people that are saying that's a boring fight or like whatever. I don't know. I thought that was great. Thought it was a great fight. Sean Strickland, I like the guy, man. And he's, you know what I mean? You can't say he's boring. I'm growing a skullet. Skullets are back, man. Skullets are back. All these kids got mullets now. Let's see. Also, Mike Holtz, do you remember? I was just thinking about this when I saw Wyatt's match. Do you remember when Lincoln McElravy went against Daniel Igali? He went against him in the World Cup, I think in 98 and 99. I think he beat him both times. And then in 2000 at the Sydney Olympics, I think in the semis, Daniel Igali beat him. I think on some technicality. I got to go rewatch the match. But you remember, that was like the last like American versus Canadian rivalry that I really remembered. So. Oh, $5 super chat from Coach Holtz. Thank you, sir. For Greco Wrestling, Rochester Adams Wrestling, and no dice on the HA virus. No dice on the, no, we're not doing that. Shout out to Rochester Adams Wrestling, the best wrestling team in the land, the official HOKC wrestling. When it was cold for a long time, so I was wearing a lot of Rochester Adams gear. I'm gonna start back up with judo again here soon. I'm gonna wear it as a rash guard. Let's see. Thank you again, Coach. If you have any wrestling propaganda you'd like me to spread, let me know. Been shaving my head for 30 years. You know, I did it when Eminem was huge and you had to like have a short haircut. I used to have hair down to here too. I look like a Allman Brothers roadie. Let's see. Battle of Wolf Creek. Yeah, I did. That was one of my first episodes. It was the Battle of Wolf Creek, Porcupine Bear, and 7 warriors unalived 30 Kiowas in a couple minutes. They went ham. They went like Predator. Remember in Predator, the opening scenes where they're like firing at the Predator? I know they didn't get the Predator in this case, but that's what Porcupine Bear and his boys did. They just laid waste to him. It was crazy. Great story. Maybe we should do a live stream about that. The Indian Wars lasted 20 years after the Civil War. Yeah, likely your great-grandparents, maybe your great-great-grand, but like, wasn't that long ago. Like 100, I was born in 85, so yeah, 100 years before I was born, the tribes were still out there, right? So it's a very recent thing in American history, something that my family has been in Central Texas since the 1850s, I want to say. So yes, when my great-great-grandpa, my grandma moved out there from whatever whole place they came from, they had to worry about the Comanche. It was a real thing to them. It was a real thing. So it's not that long ago. Let's see. I want to take jiu-jitsu classes. Yeah, man, it's legit, man. I really enjoy it. I need to like just make time for it. Correct. It was controversial. It was controversial, huh, Coach? I had that on VHS too. I had that recorded and I watched that match so many times because I was like, this is not right. You guys want to talk about a mullet? Google Lincoln McElravy. He's had a mullet since the 80s. He had it all through the 90s when they were not cool, and he was the only guy rocking it. He is my boy. That's my favorite wrestler of all time. He's the slickest, he's the meanest. The arch nemesis of Chris Bono. And respect to Chris Bono too, but McElravy he came to get it, man. Propaganda for the evening. I saw, it says Jake Skywalker. Let me just read this first before I say it on. Okay, yeah. I saw conspiracy videos saying ancient Chinese came to the Americas on super yachts and influenced Aztec culture. Have you ever heard that one? Some of their artifacts look similar. I haven't heard that one, but I have heard of findings that these giant circular rocks that they think might be Chinese anchors were found basically, I think, where the LA port is now. What's the name of that port? That's feasible to me. That's feasible. I think the Polynesians got over here. I believe the current kind of makes sense because I think the current in general goes back towards Asia. So if you're going to sail somewhere, apparently, if you want to sail somewhere on an exploration, you want to sail out against the current and think in case things go bad, then you just turn around and kind of float back home with the current is the thinking. I'm never, ever doing that. So that's just what I've been told. Let's see. Did the Indians have any snake bite cures? You know, I can't think any of off the top of my head, but yes, they did. They for sure did. But I don't want to like pontificate on it without any solid knowledge. Let me look that up though. I would imagine that Josh would know at least a couple. Snake bite remedies. Let's see. Also, guys, I've heard some people say the camera shakes too much. I don't know, like one person, okay? But like, you know, so I'm getting a new stand. We're going to remedy that as well. We're going to have a full pro setup here. And I put like an hour in. The merch should be good to go, guys. I'm just waiting for it to process. Let me check the channel real quick. Sorry. But man, I don't see it up there yet. Okay, but it's happening. It's done. I'm just waiting for it to process now. We got the Jack Hayes collection and the Quanah Parker collection coming out. Magnets, mugs, t-shirts, all very like 70s rock and roll style. You guys are going to like it. Surely the Chinese would have left armor and animals behind this, like the Spanish did. That's a good point, Happy Copy. I don't know if they stayed terribly long though. Like maybe they just got to the coast. I don't know, but I'm not, I'm 50-50 on that, but I'm like 70-30 on the Polynesians making their way to Southern California. I really feel like there's a possibility that the Chumash or some of the peoples around there have some kind of Polynesian roots. Let's see. In Apocalypto, in Apocalypto, they just hand the guy a knife because they know he's done for. You mean in the sacrifice scene? That was such a great movie to watch. Let's see. A lot of chats just poured in. 1916 was the last fight with the Indians, Utes in Colorado or Utah. Really, I didn't know that. 1916. And 1916 is about a year and a half, about a year before we get into World War I. In 1916, the Red Baron is flying missions, right? Like it is my great grandpa is like 10 years old in 1916. So it is very, very recent. Your great grandparents likely read some kind of headline about this. Let's see. Surely the Chinese, yeah, we got that. I think I missed a couple. No, I think I'm caught up. Sorry, I'm just thinking out loud here. Throwing them off. Let's see. Are we talking about games that the tribes would have played? Josh McAllister says throwing them off of their horses was a game that boys and warriors would play. They'd pick teams, mount up in battle lines, and then charge each other and throw each other from their horses. Last man astraddle wins. I dig that. I'm down for that. That sounds kind of fun. That's like a wrestling game, like King of the Mountain. That was fun. My great grandparents were alive in the 1880s. Yeah, it's not that long ago. Really, it's not. Shame on me. Space Cowboy says, I don't know what you mean, but don't be so hard on yourself. Let's see. My pop was 6. And oh wow, your papa was 6 in 1969. My great grandpa was born in 1906. It's not that long ago. He died a while back though. Oh, well, prayers for your grandpa, man. It's a good man, clearly raised a good man. In the movie The Missing, there is some good reference to dark snake magic. What's up, Adams? By Noel. I think that's the first time I've seen you here. So good to see you. I talked about that just a smidge, just a little bit earlier. Yeah, it's if you wanted a great visual reference for what we talked about tonight, can't get any better than The Medicine Man and The Missing. And also the human T-wording, affixing is a real thing as well. So they did a great job of really delving into the dark side on that movie. Let's see. The Apache left a reservation in 1926 and attacked farms nearby. The U.S. Army chased them down ruthlessly. I'll have to check that out too. 1926. Yeah, it's not linear at all. I think in modernity, we assume, history to be very compartmentalized and very linear. It's like, no, just, you can see like the holdout Japanese soldiers that fought till the 1970s. Like, so technically World War II went on 30 years past its official end. So history is just never neat and tidy, unfortunately. My dad was born in 45. I was born in 82. Oh, so your dad was like 37 when he had you. Right on, man. I told you guys I was born in 85. The very tail end of 85, though. So I identify more with 86 babies. People talk about like Fraggle Rock. I don't remember Fraggle Rock, man. I remember Murder, She Wrote. I remember, I think that's it. The Muppets, barely. Did any of the Indian tribes have any good food recipes? Oh, yeah. Some of the recipes, actually, Max Miller on Tasting History does a great job on diving into some of these recipes. Some of the ones on the East Coast that had the three sisters, the squash, beans, and corn, were really hearty, kind of complex meals that were like a lot of times kind of a stew or a mush. And I forget which one he tries. I think it's venison stew, but I forget which tribe's recipe it is. It looks good. He says it's kind of bland, but there's all kinds of like tribal recipes. In Northern California, Indian fry bread, that's what it's called, is a big thing. It's made, my family friends would make it all the time. It's like kind of like a tortilla, think of like a gordita shell, but like bigger and puffier. And you can make it sweet or savory. It's like I think a pretty ubiquitous recipe throughout the tribes. And then a lot of it, like Comanche recipes, were like, they would just like grab a turtle and throw the turtle on the fire. Even the Apache recipes that Herman talks about is like, well, we grab these baby antelope and we put them in a pouch. And then when we get to the camp, we take the antelope out, we throw them on the fire. And the best part is when we hear them yelping and the antelope parents come out, and then we shoot the antelope parents and we eat them too. So it's perfect. And you're just like, this sounds horrible. And then there's one account of Jed Smith coming across a Shoshone woman who was effectively lost. Like somehow she had got isolated from her tribe, and not ostracized, isolated, because she was trying to go back. So she's stuck out in the middle of the desert, and they had just unalived a muskrat, right? They're coming off this river, and the trappers have a muskrat. And they're like, well, hey, lady, like, if you're hungry, you can have this muskrat. And she's like, dope. Like, let's do that. And so she grabs the muskrat, and it's dead already, but she just throws it on the fire and then just waits for it to kind of bubble up a little bit, and then just starts ripping at it, just like a rotisserie chicken. And they said that she ate all of it. She just like everything that there was, she ate it. And even the trappers were like, holy shit, like, what did we do? What did we just see? Right. So recipes varied, I would say, but truly, like, go check out Max Miller's Tasting History. Wonderful. Not just a food channel, really, like, primarily a history channel. Guys, really blown up in the last year, and it's well deserved. He's great. I remember when bison was $4.99 a pound. Man, I don't remember that. I remember when beef was when I was that's what I eat, like, mostly is beef, and it was like $3.50 for a pound of ground beef a couple years ago. $4 maybe. My family wasn't fighting out west. They went to Eastern Kentucky and they stayed there. I have some family that came from Kentucky. Fast forward to 2026, and ground bison is way more per pound. Yeah, I want to say, I don't know, man, $8-9, something like that. Herman didn't play with those baby antelopes, and I'm like, dang, antelopes need to teach their kiddos not to talk with strangers. That's right, coach. Like, even Herman, who grew up on the Texas frontier, he's not a softie, right? By today's standards, he'd be just a kid on the Texas, a 12-year-old on the Texas frontier would be way tougher than probably any of us, right? So he's already a tough kid. But even he sees how the Apache just grabbed these baby antelope, and he's like, guys, like this is a little wild, huh? He's like, you can tell that like that bothers him a little bit more than stuff that he did later. Um, let's see. There's turtle soup. Yeah, there's turtle soup, bison burgers, and a lot of times, Cynthia Ann Parker talks about this, and I believe Dot Bab talks about this. Who's another Comanche captive from the 1850s, I believe. Maybe let's say 1850s to 1870s, somewhere in there. Talks about how this is, of course, after the Comanche have acquired metal cookware, but they got metal cookware soon enough. Like they were dealing with the Comancheros and trading quite a bit. So they would just have these like big metal pots. Think of it like, I don't know, like kind of a crock pot situation where there's just this crock pot going all the time and it's just cooking bison meat. It's just cooking away. And just whenever there's no like formal meal times, even for the kids, they would just get skewers and then poke it in there and grab yourself a piece of bison, eat it when you're hungry, go about your business, come back, get some more when you want it. And then like, that's just kind of how it was. So there wasn't like a recipe. She said there was no spices. All the kids that got kidnapped were like, there's no spice. They just cook the meat. That's it. There's no salt. There's no nothing. They don't even look for plants to put on it. Nothing. They just eat the bison. So there was a simple taste. They had a simple taste, which honestly I could kind of get down with. I could do that. Let's see. In Central Texas, they find deer bones, reptile bones, and bison bones in fire pits, along with vegetables and nuts. And I think they find cactus. Yeah. So let's also clarify: the Comanche weren't like exclusively carnivore. That would be essentially impossible, at least impractical. They would eat tubers. They would eat, other kinds of roots. They would eat birds if they have to. They didn't really like eating birds. They did not like eating fish. They did not like eating fish. They would if they had to. They would catch turtles and just like put them on the fire. They were like, this is a pretty sweet deal. It comes with its own dish, and just throw them live on the fire. But so they would eat other things. But in general, even if they could get their hands on flour, they'd make some kind of like fry bread. But in general, it was like bison Ford. It makes you appreciate Herman's struggle more since he felt bad for the baby antelope and for their parents. Even though he was hungry, he was like, that's not cool, fellas. Also, you need spice. Yeah, he was kind of like, bro, the food sucks. First of all, you shouldn't do this to the baby antelope and also to their aggrieved parents. But probably, maybe even the worst part of this is that it sucks. He was like, yeah, this is not even good. Like, this isn't even like a delicacy. This just sucks all the way around. Why did they not like fish? I think they viewed it as like, I don't know if effeminate is the right word, but they either viewed it as kind of like weak food or dirty. I've seen both accounts where they were just like, no, like, yeah, you're going to eat it if you're going to starve, but they were not about the fish. The Comanche, oh yeah, good point. The Comanche would not eat fish or hogs. They would not eat hogs. No pig, no fish. I kind of respect that. I don't really like fish that much, and I don't like pork. They say pork is the most like people. No, thank you. Was it kind of a matter of pride? We only eat red meat. I think there's an element of that. I don't know if there's some theological element or possibly some hygienic element to it. I mean, pigs carry trichinosis. They would eat bears, though, and bears carry trichinosis as well. Let's see. I was just watching this video of don't quote me on this, but I think the Chinook. I'm not solid enough to say. Let's not say Chinook. Tribe in, I believe, Washington or Alaska, somewhere in there where they have lots of salmon. They were getting the salmon and drying them, right? But this is, I believe, on Steve Ranilla's Meat Eater. So it's a recent video. You can go check it. And the lady is explaining that, all salmon have worms. And they zoom in on it, and there's just little worms squiggling around in the salmon. So it's like, okay, that's not cool. I didn't know that. So I guess that's a fact. And she's like, well, that's why we have to dry them so much. And we do this and we do that. And then it kills the worms. And it's like, listen, like, your opener really killed everything you said after that, right? Like, you should start with the hygienic process. But yeah, so I'm never eating salmon again. There's that. No pork cracklings or fish fry ups. No, man, I'll do a fish fry up. And pork cracklings taste good. It just weirds me out. I would have thought the Indians cooked better. It just depended on the tribe and kind of their culture and their inclinations. The way they'd cook, an antelope, for example, is they would gut it, eat all uh, eat all of the entrails while it was warm, and then throw the meat onto a fire with the skin on it. The hair was singed off. Yeah, there's a lot of descriptions of this. And the hair was singed off, and the meat would cook inside the skin. It would keep the ashes off the meat. Great point. Josh knows his stuff. There have been burned rock middens, huge piles of stones, a big earth found where it's a big earth oven that you could cook things for days. Yeah, and it depends on the tribe. There was pretty elaborate cooking setups in many tribes, just depending on what they were cooking too. Depending on the year, the tribe, location, available. Yeah, absolutely. It also depended on the year. Great point. Where it's like, well, maybe there wasn't as many salmon this year. There wasn't as many buffalo this year. Maybe there's way more buffalo. There's so much. You got to figure out how to utilize all these things. It's the same thing, cultures have run into for eons, but there wasn't really, that's where the dried meat came from. Because it's like, well, it's kind of the canning of their area. It's like, well, we have to figure out a way to preserve this food because we have so much of it right now, and we will almost assuredly have very little of it in the near future. So we have to figure out a way to be able to utilize this. So they were really experts at drying meat for sure. And they were experts at utilizing the hide. They could make everything out of the buffalo. I'm hungry now. Yeah, me too, kind of. I haven't eaten yet. Mindful Militant talks about pemmican. Yeah, pemmican is like the backbone of is the nutritional backbone of the plains for sure. There's different recipes for different tribes, to Josh's point, depending on the what, when, and where they were, what they had available, and what time of year and what year they were in. But yeah, it included, like you're saying, dried meat, fat, berries, roasted root vegetables. And everybody had their own kind of recipe too, so they'd throw in some extra stuff that they liked. I have actually, the closest I've ever had to pemmican is like those Epic bars they used to sell. I think Epic kind of went defunct, but it's incredibly calorically dense. It's pretty tasty and really easy to transport. So it was the fuel of anyone on the plains, mountain men, tribes, later wagon trains. What's your opinion on I don't have an opinion on that right now, Doug Allen. I'd say that. So the honey eater band of Comanche, were they really eating honey all the time? Yeah, they were eating, because they were like down towards where there was more honey available in the timbered lands. There's the yap eaters. There's the Yamparika, the yap eaters. The Katsoteca, I think, are the buffalo eaters. The antelope eaters, I think, are the Quahati. What do we have? Happy asked a question. So the Indians didn't have bread until we gave them flour. Actually, I think I just saw Josh address this very well. They had, some type of cornbread or corn cakes, and that was about it. Yeah, absolutely. Until we introduced white flour. And you could see a lot of like cooking techniques adopted by Civil War soldiers that would be utilized by a lot of these tribes. Like they would make this, I think the Confederates would call it sloosh. There's a great deal where Shelby Foote talks about this on Ken Burns' Civil War documentary. But they would make this corn, think like like a corn meal, like a thick cornmeal, and they would wrap it around their bayonets, wrap it around their rifle rods, and then cook that over the fire, like kind of like a hot dog, like a s'mores situation, right? Like you turn it and roast it, and turn it and roast it. And it'd be a pretty similar thing for some tribes. Others would cook on a flat rock. But there wasn't a lot of bread, especially for tribes like the Comanche, non-agricultural tribes. And they just didn't really like it either, a lot of times. The Navajo began using white wheat flour in the 1860s, a pivotal change born from necessity during the Long Walk and their subsequent imprisonment at Bosque Redondo, New Mexico. Absolutely. And you saw a lot of, like, I'm not anti-carb, right? But you saw a lot of problems start to crop up when these tribes were changed to a diet of like crappy flour, like 80% crappy flour. it brought on a lot of health problems. Corn tortillas go way back. Yeah, I think they had those when the Spaniards showed up. The Aztec did. I think they were selling those as like street vendors. Doug Allen, bro, you gotta chill out, or we're gonna censor you in the chat. You can't talk like that. I'd say, and then just if you're listening, like, listen, I'm all for free speech. We're free speech here, but like, can't be saying stuff like that, Doug Allen. I'd say that Southwest tribes would have had tortillas probably before the Spanish. I mean, yeah, the Spanish tortilla is different too. It's like this quiche thing, right? So flatbreads are certainly nothing new, especially for agricultural tribes. But the Aztecs they introduced the Spaniards to hot chocolate, which Montezuma was drinking like crazy amounts of hot chocolate because he thought it was an aphrodisiac. And they thought there was like medicinal powers to it too. Sounds like really good, kind of bitter, but I like bitter. Sounded like really thick, bitter hot chocolate. They had, what else did they have? Obviously corn, but something else that I'm blanking on right now. They ate a lot of chihuahuas. Not cool. Free speech, but be polite. Yeah, it's still, this is a private entity, man. So like, you gotta, it's like any establishment. You gotta mind the rules. We're all civilized, gentle people here. I'd say that the Southwest tribes got that. Okay. Yeah, Doug, no more, man. That's your last shot. I'm back to my bouncer days now. I wish I could do that with the boys and get on a raid on horseback. I mean, that must have been a crazy scene. And I'll tell you one thing, I don't want to be within a country mile of Quanah Parker when he's on that stuff. No offense to Quanah. I'm just saying, I don't want to be in the same room. I'll go down the road. Fry bread came about. Josh McAllister says this. Fry bread came about because each person was issued a pound of flour. Yeah. They were issued a pound of bacon and a pound of sugar. They'd cook the bacon first, then mix the flour and sugar together and fry it in the leftover bacon grease. Yeah, and this isn't, I mean, you see this in European cultures, you see this during the Civil War, et cetera, et cetera. But it's a cultural mainstay, I'm sure. And I know for a fact a cultural mainstay among tribes in Northern California now. And I'm sure, I think all throughout the Pacific and the Southwest, especially. Oh, the Apache for sure do. The Navajo do fry bread. I think Navajo fry bread's like the most famous. Let's see. Yeah, I'm deleting Doug Allen's chats here. Remove. Oh, bro, Doug Allen, you're going too crazy, man. I'm just looking at your other chats. You are in timeout, buddy. I hate to do that to another grown man, but you made me do it, bro. I'm scrolling back here. Doug Allen went crazy, dog. All right. We got to protect the institution, guys. Okay. We all do fry bread. Absolutely. I love fry bread, man. That's what donuts are. Donuts are fry bread. He was trolling. No, I know, man. That's why you getting timeout, bro. I think timeout is more punitive than just blocking somebody. It's like, oh yeah, you grown man, I'm gonna put you in timeout. How you feel about that as a grown man? Let's see. Do you think natives had any moonshine? I mean, they had these kind of the Aztec had pulque. They had these like fermented drinks, but I don't recall hard liquor. Very possible, but what I've heard of is these kind of fermented beer-like drinks. But they didn't have no alcohol at all. That's a largely a myth, depending on the tribe. But let's see. Townsend's channel on YouTube had an entire episode about pelican. Townsend's like the OG too. If you guys don't know Townsend's channel, you got to go check it out. It is he is like a legit OG on history YouTube. I dropped my pen. Is Doug Allen a regular here? No, he ain't anymore. If he was, he isn't now. Let's see. Yeah, I didn't see all the stuff that I just saw like one or two things Doug whatever was posting. I was like, man, you're getting kind of crazy. And then I looked at the rest of it. I was like, bro, you're not even in left field. You're out somewhere next to the porta potties. No moon. Yeah, I was waiting for Josh McAllister's take on this. There was no moonshine, but Mescaleros. Yeah. Oh, great point. Yeah. The Mescalero Apache name comes from their using mescal cactus to make booze. It was called Tizwin. Yeah. They had such a propensity for not only drinking it, but preparing it that they were called the Mescaleros, like the mescal people. He was trying to be a troll. Yeah. No troll zone, dude. We'll kick you right out of here. I don't know how to be a mod, but I would be. I think I can make you a mod. Add as a moderator. Yeah. Can block. Review. Change. Sorry, I'm just looking at this right now. Here, I'll make everybody a moderator. Here. Anybody else want to be a moderator? Give me like 2 or 3 people. Coach, you want to be a moderator? I mean, you don't have to be here every time, but I'll make you a moderator. And if you guys see somebody causing trouble, 38 in the chat. Yeah, we do have 30. If you're in the chat, click the thumbs up button, guys. Give us a like. I'll be one. Yeah, coach, put you in as the enforcer. We're gonna make. What do we at here? Add as a moderator. Manage moderator. There we go, sir. Thank y'all. I'm drinking Milagro. Well, Space Cowboy, I can't remember what that is, but I'm glad you're having a good time, man. You deserve it. Mindful Militant. You get to be a mod. Wait, I think it only lets me add that. We have to honor the code of HOKC. You guys are helping write the code of HOKC, so I really appreciate it. All right, guys, any more questions? Oh, yeah, I'm going to add. Let me try. If I missed you adding. Okay. This is my first time doing it, guys. So, okay. If I missed you, let me know. Sorry about that. I don't know how many moderators I can have at once either. It's tequila. My mom told me it was called that, tequila. I don't know if I can say that on the stream, but yes, tequila is dangerous, man. Good tequila is really good, but not promoting using it here. That Doug guy is, Jennifer Nelson says that Doug guy is totally disgusting. Yeah, he's out now. Sorry, guys. I just didn't see how crazy he was going. I have a little tiny box here, and sometimes I don't see it off to my right-hand side. All right, y'all, I got to bounce. All right, Coach, good seeing you, man. Tell the team I said hello. Keep getting after it. Look forward to the T-shirts. Another good. Yeah, they should be up, man. Should be. I'm going to check them again after this. I think you guys are going to like it. But have a good night. We'll talk to you soon. Happy Cappy. Sure, we'll make you a moderator. All right. I'm going to hop off in a second anyways, guys. We'll go another 5-10 minutes, and then I got to get back and post that. I had to make a correction on the compilation. I labeled something wrong. So once again, a learning opportunity. So I got the correction back thanks to our faithful editor, Abdi. And he got it back to me as soon as we could. So I'm posting it. The members will have access to it in an hour or so. And if you're not a member, don't worry. You'll have access to it early tomorrow evening. I missed a bunch. I fell asleep for a minute. We had some rabble rousers in here, but we have one rabble rouser in here, but we got rid of them. Bemadiani, I'll make you, if you want to be a mod, I'll make you a mod too. Let's see. You can have an unlimited amount of moderators. Oh, okay, cool. Tell you what. All right, Mindful Militant, next time, come by next time, I'll make you a moderator. I don't know if you have to be in here. Bama Deanna. If you're not, Bama, if you want to be a mod, cool. If not, no problem. Let's see. Did you see my video I sent you on Instagram? No, I never check it, man. I got to go check it. Oh, yeah. I don't know if Jamilian is still here too. I texted her or messaged her because she followed on Instagram too. And she's got a really cool Substack. You guys, like, she's super smart. She writes about all this, like, all this stuff, you guys. You got to go check it out. I don't know if she's still in here. Let me know what the, If not, if you're not still in here, I will bring the Substack address to you guys, because I asked her, could I share it with you guys? She said yes. But I'll warn you, not that it's that hard to make me look stupid, but she really makes me look stupid. Like, her writing is really good. Firing about a 3/4, thinking about the Blackfoot. Jennifer Nelson, you are? I'm not sure how to take that, Jennifer Nelson. I'm not entirely sure how to take that one. I outdrank somebody on New Year's Eve in Vegas one year. Oh boy. He was trying to hook me up with a date. I did 6 shots of tequila. 6 shots. Well, I mean, that's a lot. I've been there before, though. I've been there before. And I'm not going back again. Let's see. I told you guys about my first marathon. I did like a bunch of old fashions, I think, and ate like 12 donuts. I thought that was carb loading. It was not carb loading. And I had a fish sandwich. Let's see. All right. I think I'm going to wind it down for the evening. Thank you, everybody, for coming out. We had a good little turnout tonight. A lot of stories packed into this one little chapter. Tomorrow, we will have Texas Rangers, the dark history of the Texas Rangers. And if you guys like Texas Rangers, do not miss that one. I think it's a darker history than we like to talk about a lot of times. So we're going to talk about some of the more, some of the darker battles in Texas Ranger history. Then we will have the Dade Massacre, which has been long awaited, and I'm excited for you guys to see it. It's going to be a good one. It is diving into the pine barrens and the swamps of Central Florida. It is a brutal story, guys. Basically, no one survives. Pretty much nobody survives. No spoilers other than that. Like, don't expect a bunch of survivors, okay? I don't want to bum you out. Don't expect a bunch of survivors in this one, in the Dade Massacre. Then, we're on to the Apache from them. We're on to the Apache. We're going to talk about Victorio. And what's the name of that one? It's got a really cool name, and I forget. I think it's the Battle of Rattlesnake Springs, something like that. Then, what else we got? We got another Apache episode coming. I'm trying to think. A bunch more stuff coming. A lot of stuff on the way. Oh, and then, what is today? Monday. I just talked to Sam, who is our Crusades expert. He is going to come on Wednesday, possibly Thursday. I'll let you guys know. We're going to discuss the Crusades from all angles. Like, was it good? Was it bad? We're going to talk about it. Sam is a Crusade savant. I've talked to him endlessly for hours on end about the Crusades. He has a very nuanced, I think, holistic view of it. This guy is a brainiac. This old boy can do some thinking, right? So he's really interesting to talk to. I think you guys will really enjoy him. He will really be our first official guest on the HOKC live stream. I'm excited for you guys to meet him. Then we will do a breakdown, a movie night at some point in the near future with Sam of Kingdom of Heaven. It's a movie that catches a lot of flack, and it's got its good points and bad points. But Sam is a big fan, so we're going to break down the ins and outs of that movie as well. So lots of big stuff coming. We're going to take a lot of twists and turns here. I'm excited for you guys to see where we're going. We're still Old West channel, but I think the delving into some other matters with some other subject matter experts is going to be really interesting for everybody. So looking forward to that. Am I missing anybody? Oh, a $2 super chat from Jake Skywalker. Thank you, sir. Favorite channel. Oh man, thank you very much. I appreciate that. There's a lot of channels out there, so that means a lot to me, man. Thank you very much. Thank you for the super chat too. Thank you, man. Really appreciate that. The girl in Vegas was wearing a long blue satin dress. She was a long blue. Yeah, I can get down a long blue satin dress. All right. Yeah. I like that. That's a good look. HOKC is good for the soul, bad for my sleep. Mine too, bro. Mine too. You should do one about the Pyramid Lake War. That's coming, man. Don't think that's flown under my radar. I know all about it. I know enough about it. Yeah, we've talked a lot about Jack Hayes in San Francisco, and we actually talked about him presiding over San Francisco's first public execution, which was there's a bit of conspiracy behind that as well. And I alluded a lot in that live stream to the Battle of Pyramid Lake. So that's coming. That is absolutely on the docket. I'm going to donate $10. Oh, well, thank you very much, Jennifer Nelson. Let me find my purse. Nope, no problem. We'll hang out for a second. No pressure, but we really appreciate that. Thank you very much. Someone had a rattlesnake in town a couple of years ago. Yeah, there's a couple of places in Texas that do this, but I know Hamilton, Texas does a rattlesnake roundup where they bring all the surrounding areas rattlesnakes and we all play with them or whatever. I don't know. I'm not going. I would eat rattlesnake, but I'm not going to be anywhere willingly in range of a rattlesnake. Pyramid Lake, that's my neighborhood. Oh yeah, I didn't think about that. You'd be like, it's right in your proximity, huh? All right, maybe we'll move that a little bit farther up the docket. Pyramid Lake. Cool. Hayes was everywhere, man. Hayes was just all over the place. It was just like, Hayes, we got a fight over here. We need you to come settle things. And he'd be like, all right, hey, let me cruise over there real quick. Kingdom of Heaven. Oh, interesting question, Mark Kavitsky. Kingdom of Heaven, which version? There was a director's cut close to history. We are doing the director's cut. Sam insisted it had to be the director's cut. There is a rattlesnake roundup in Alabama every year. I feel like that's one thing we could really freak Europeans out with, where it's like, well, yeah, you want to come to America? Check it out. We have rattlesnake roundups. I feel like that would really be, you want like full on America? Come check it out. And they're like, what do you mean a rattlesnake roundup? Well, we collect a bunch of rattlesnakes and then we kind of like play with them and eat them. Like, what? I would love to do some collaborations with peeps from HOKC community. I live in Reno, Sparks. So if anyone wants to do a hookup, let me know, says Space Cowboy. Yeah, like I'd love to see people connect. Maybe we can do some connections this summer. Gas prices kind of suck right now, but we've talked with Elite Superground about doing some meetups. We all kind of know each other now. So anybody comes to the Florida Panhandle, swing through. Yeah, I got a buddy in the Panhandle, man. He loves it there. I got to go visit him soon. Once the gas prices cool off. Even in Texas, it's nuts. I got plastic surgery at a Wild West Chinese laundromat, says Jennifer Nelson. Well, that's not advisable. I would say that. There are snake handling churches around too. Yeah, that's a whole deal in and of itself. I don't know. That's, you know what I mean? I'm pretty, I like to go at least look at other people's theology. That I would not go look at. I'm like, no, I'm not going in that building. I am also good with the Middle Ages, says Mark Kavitsky. I study because it's a hobby to me. Oh, cool. Come check out the stream, man. We do like I talk, right? And Sam and I will talk. But as you can see, there's a lot of back and forth, and a lot of people in the chat know a ton. I actually rely on the chat for a fair amount of stuff. I'm kind of a conduit more than a subject matter expert in many ways. I trust you guys, except for that Doug Allen guy, says Space Cowboy. Doug Allen is done for. He's not in the chat anymore. I don't mean that in like a mafioso kind of way. Josh, are you close to Pensacola? That's where my buddy is. He's in Pensacola. He loves going to Floribama, which is a great name. It's a great name for a bar. Okay. All right, guys. I'm going to wind it up so I can go get this episode posted. So we're looking at an episode tomorrow. Should be an episode Thursday or Friday. Then we'll have another side story, live streams all the way in between. Like I said, it'll depend on when Sam and I can connect, but it'll be Wednesday or Thursday. Also, a quick point. I might start moving the streams in general, or at least some of the streams, to 8 p.m. Eastern. Hopefully you guys are cool with that. I was thinking people would get them confused with normal episodes if I did them at the same time. Doesn't seem like that's the case. So I might start moving the live streams back towards the 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific time slot. So that will be, Sam doesn't stay up as late as I do. So we're kind of settling on that time. But yeah, other than that, that's all the behind the scenes stuff I got for you guys. Stay tuned for the Dark History of the Texas Rangers. That's out tonight. Wait, no, it's out 8 p.m. Tuesday night, 8 p.m. Eastern, Tuesday night, 5 p.m. Pacific. Hair sticking out. That's a blonde hair, guys. Not gray yet. So I'm not thinking of anything else. Yeah, just stay tuned to the channel, guys. Lots of big stuff coming. Can't thank y'all enough. I do this every night, but I mean it every night. Thank you all for coming and hanging out. Really have a good time seeing everybody. And it's the highlight of my day for sure. This is a lot of fun. I'm going to check the chat real quick. I think I'm caught up. So again, thank you guys so much. Looking forward to seeing you. It'll be Wednesday or Thursday night. Don't miss the Dark History of the Texas Rangers. Stay tuned for the Dade Massacre. Bunch of shorts, bunch of episodes. Can't wait to see you again. God bless. Have a good night, and we'll see you soon.